At 7:30 a.m. on September 19, 1944, Staff Sergeant Lafayette Pool stood beside his Sherman tank at a staging area near Aachen, Germany, observing his crew as they prepared for what would be his last mission. The chilly morning air was filled with the scent of diesel fuel and damp earth. Nearby, numerous other Shermans were lined up in formation, their crews conducting pre-battle checks. Engines gradually came to life one after another, creating a mechanical roar that echoed through the staging area. The ground vibrated beneath the weight of these 33-ton steel behemoths readying for combat. Pool was 25 years old and had been in combat for 81 days, with 12 confirmed tank kills under his belt. German forces had entrenched themselves along the Siegfried Line with Panthers, Tigers, and concealed anti-tank guns. Pool's unit would be advancing directly into this fortified position. Intelligence indicated that at least 2 Panther companies were defending the approaches to Münster Busch. P had been commanding Sherman tanks for 3 months and was intimately familiar with their capabilities. The M4A1 model of the Sherman weighed 33 tons when fully loaded, equipped with a 5-man crew and powered by a Continental 975 radial engine producing 350 horsepower. It could achieve speeds of up to 30 mph on roads and 20 mph off-road. However, there was one critical flaw that posed an ongoing threat. The Sherman's armor could not withstand direct hits from Panthers or Tigers. The Panther weighed in at 45 tons and mounted a high-velocity 75 mm cannon capable of piercing a Sherman's armor at ranges up to 2,000 yards. Its frontal armor was 80 mm thick and sloped to 5.5 A Sherman needed to be within 300 yards to penetrate a Panther's side armor with its 76 mm gun. The Tiger was even more formidable, weighing 56 tons, equipped with an 88 mm cannon and boasting frontal armor up to 120 mm thick. At a distance of 500 yards, a Tiger could obliterate a Sherman. A Sherman tank lacked the capability to breach a Tiger's frontal armor at any realistic combat distance. American military strategy advised Sherman crews to avoid direct confrontation with German heavy tanks. Instead, they were instructed to employ speed, numerical advantage, and flanking maneuvers while targeting vulnerable areas such as sides and rear sections. The 3rd Armored Division suffered significant tank losses in Normandy, primarily due to enemy vehicles that could engage from longer ranges. P had witnessed numerous tank commanders perish by adhering strictly to conventional tactics. This strategy presumed that Sherman crews would have the necessary time for maneuvering, ample space to outmaneuver opponents, and artillery support. However, actual combat was often quicker, more confined, and far more chaotic than anticipated. German crews capitalized on every moment of hesitation from their adversaries. Pool devised an alternative method. He relentlessly trained his crew, focusing on driver drills, gunner exercises, and loader routines. Every move was meticulously timed. How swiftly could the driver execute a 90-degree turn at maximum speed? How quickly could the gunner acquire and engage a target? How fast could the loader reload after firing? Pool pushed them until each action became second nature. His driver, Corporal Wilbert Richards, who hailed from Cumberland, Maryland, was just 24 years old. Known affectionately as Bebby by Pool but referred to as Red due to his fairy hair, Richards stood at a mere 5'4". He had grown up working with farm machinery. He sensed when the transmission would begin to slip and noticed how unevenly the tracks were wearing. He kept his hatch open while driving. His bow gunner was Private First Class Bert Close, who at 17 years old hailed from Portland, Oregon. Pool referred to him as Schoolboy. Despite wearing wire-rimmed glasses, Close had falsified his age to enlist. He excelled with a .30 caliber bow machine gun and never lost composure during combat. Corporal Willis Ol, a 29-year-old machinist from Morrisonville, Illinois, served as Pool's gunner before enlisting. Pool nicknamed him Groundhog due to the marks around his eyes from the gun sight cushion. Ola possessed an exceptional talent for target acquisition that Pool had never encountered in another gunner. Technician 5th grade Delbert Bogs, 22 years old and from Lancaster, Ohio, filled the role of loader. Given a choice between joining the army or facing prison time on manslaughter charges by his local judge, he opted for military service. Bogs could load a 76 mm round in just 4 seconds. Pool was part of Company 1 within the 32nd Armoured Regiment of the 3rd Armoured Division. The division departed for Europe on September 5, 1943, arriving in England on September 15th. They underwent 9 months of training near Liverpool before engaging in combat on June 29, 1944, in Villers-Fozard, Normandy. Pool's first Sherman tank was destroyed that day by a German Panzer IV. The crew endured and were subsequently provided with a replacement tank, which they whimsically named after a Glenn Miller tune. This second tank met its end on August 17th due to friendly fire when an American P-38 Lightning misidentified it as German armor. Fortunately, the crew survived unscathed. They then received their third Sherman, also christened with the same name, in the Mood. From June 29th through September 19th, Pool's unit emerged as the most formidable tank destroyers in the European theater. Their success stemmed from employing audacious tactics that deviated from standard military doctrine. Upon spotting an enemy target, Ola would open fire immediately without waiting for optimal range. As the adversary reacted, Richards would steer directly toward it, reducing distance and altering angles continuously. They maintained this relentless approach until the target was obliterated. On June 30, 1944, Pool's crew encountered their first Panther near Villiers-Facade. The German tank had positioned itself behind a hedge roughly 800 yards away. Typically, other commanders would have requested artillery support at such a distance. However, Pool hesitated not. He instructed Ola to commence firing immediately. The initial shot narrowly missed the Panther's turret. In response, the Panther began traversing its gun towards them. Undeterred, Pool ordered Richards to advance straight ahead rather than retreat. At 600 yards, Ola fired again but hit only the frontal armor of the German tank, causing it to deflect harmlessly. The Panther returned fire but missed by mere feet. Richards continued his direct assault on the enemy position. At a range of 400 yards, the Panther fired once more. The round struck Pool's Sherman but failed to penetrate its armor. At 300 yards, Richard maneuvered the tank into a sliding position, aiming the gun directly at the exposed side of the enemy Panther. Ol quickly took aim and fired as soon as the target was aligned. The 76 mm shell penetrated the side armor effortlessly. The Panther's turret rose due to internal explosions caused by ammunition detonations. They promptly engaged 2 advancing panzers that attempted a flanking maneuver. Ola managed to destroy both enemy tanks within less than 2 minutes. Over 4 minutes. These tactics resulted in 3 kills and were deemed highly risky according to military doctrine. Pool's combat methods quickly spread throughout the regiment. His aggressive approach involved close quarters engagements, constant movement, and immediate firing without perfect positioning. These strategies kept crews alive against superior German armor. By August, numerous tank crews within the 3rd Armored Division had adopted similar tactics. The Germans noticed a shift in American behavior as after action reports from panzer units mentioned that American Sherman crews were fighting more aggressively, closing distances despite taking hits and forcing engagements at ranges where German armor advantages diminished. Tactics that had been effective for months began to fail. Shermans that should have retreated instead advanced under fire. Pool's combat record continued to grow steadily. On July 21st near St. Lo, he destroyed 3 German tanks and 15 half-tracks in a single engagement. On August Sunded near Mortain, his crew neutralized 2 Panthers that had ambushed their column. By August 29th, P led an assault that dismantled multiple German positions, earning him the Distinguished Service Cross. By early September, P had demolished 12 tanks and 2 Tu-46 additional armored vehicles. His squad had eliminated around 1,000 German soldiers and taken 250 prisoners into custody. Throughout their involvement in 21 major offensive operations, they managed to avoid any casualties among the crew members. Lieutenant Colonel Walter Richardson, a fellow Texan whom P met during training at Camp Polk in Louisiana, served as Pool's battalion commander. Recognizing P's remarkable skills, Richardson frequently entrusted him with leading columns, even though P held the rank of sergeant rather than an officer. Despite offers for advancement, P declined promotions to retain command over his tank directly. Orders were received on September 17th instructing P and his crew to return to the United States for a war bond tour following 81 consecutive days of combat. The tour was set to commence in early October but required one final mission beforehand. On September 19th, P's unit was tasked with breaching the Siegfried Line near Münsterbusch, Germany. Richardson explicitly instructed P not to take up the lead position for that day, hoping his crew would survive their last assignment unharmed. Pool understood this directive and agreed to serve as a flank guard instead of being in the forefront. The assault commenced at 07:30 hours and proceeded without issues for approximately 20 minutes until everything spiraled out of control. P's regular loader, Bogs, had been reassigned to the rear due to medical examinations necessary before their scheduled rotation back home. Replacing him was Private First Class Paul Kenneth King, a 20-year-old from Anderson County, Tennessee, who lacked experience and had not trained alongside the crew. It was King who first noticed an ambush point with anti-tank weaponry concealed near a damaged residence. He recognized it as an 88mm gun, one of Germany's most lethal weapons. He then called out the target, and Ola confirmed readiness to fire. P issued the order to proceed. King attempted to load a round, but dropped it into the breach instead. The round jammed, rendering the tank unable to return fire. Meanwhile, P noticed the German gun crew adjusting their weapons elevation. He shouted for Richards to reverse, initiating a retreat. However, they were too slow. The 88mm gun fired its shell at a range of 300 yards. It struck the Sherman's turret and penetrated through it. The explosive round detonated inside the tank between Pool and Ola. Pool was thrown out of the commander's hatch by the force of the blast, landing about 15 feet away with his rag nearly severed by shrapnel. He grabbed a morphine injection from his medical kit and administered it to himself as the pain became unbearable. Using his pocket knife, he tried cutting off the damaged part of his leg. Medics arrived shortly after to assist him. The medical team intervened to prevent further amputation, applied tourniquets, and administered additional morphine. The crew managed to rescue Richards and Close from the blazing Sherman tank, ensuring both survived with only minor injuries. Ola, however, sustained critical wounds from shrapnel that penetrated his left leg. Tragically, King did not survive. P was taken to a field hospital where doctors performed an above-the-knee amputation of his right leg, cutting it 8 inches above the knee joint. Over a period of 14 months, Ola underwent 6 surgeries and remained in hospitals until February 15, 1946, when he was discharged with a permanent leg brace. Richards and Close continued their service with the 3rd Armored Division and lived through the remainder of the conflict. Lafayette Greenpool entered this world on July 23, 1919, in Otterdam. He had an identical twin brother named John Thomas who served in the Navy during World War II. P completed high school in Taft, Texas in 1938 and enrolled at Texas College of Arts and Industries for 1 academic year to study engineering before enlisting in the military. Prior to joining the war effort, P was a skilled amateur boxer, winning the sectional 165-pound championship in New Orleans and competing in Golden Gloves tournaments. During his training period in England, he participated in an exhibition match against heavyweight champion Joe Louis and emerged victorious. P enlisted on June 14, 1941, underwent training with the 3rd Armored Division at Camp Polk, Louisiana, and deployed to England in September of 1943. His combat service spanned precisely 81 days from June 29 to September 19, 1944. Throughout his career, P earned numerous accolades including the Distinguished Service Cross, Legion of Merit, Silver Star, Purple Heart, Belgian Foureur's Cross, and the French Legion of Honor for his bravery and dedication. He received 2 nominations for the Medal of Honor but never received it. The paperwork from his first nomination was allegedly misplaced, while his second nomination was denied since officials concluded that his achievements were a result of teamwork rather than individual effort. Following World War II, P was discharged in June 1946 and returned to Texas, where he started a service station in Sinton. Adapting to civilian life proved challenging for him. In July 1948, however, he was permitted to re-enlist among 7 amputees recalled due to their specialized skills. He served as an automotive instructor with the 3rd Armored Division at Fort Knox, Kentucky. P retired on September 19, 1960, exactly 16 years after being injured and achieving the rank of Chief Warrant Officer II from Fort Sam Houston, Texas. At age 70, he passed away peacefully in his sleep on May 30, 1991, and was laid to rest in Texas. 2 years later, in 1993, a tank driver training simulator hall at the Armored Force School at Fort Knox was named after him. The dedication plaque read, Staff Sergeant Lafayette G. Pool, American Tank Ace. Destroyed 258 enemy vehicles. Served 81 days in combat. When the Armor School moved to Fort Benning, which later became Fort Moore, Georgia, in 2010, the facility was relocated as well. Beyond his impressive combat record, P's legacy lies in the aggressive tactics he developed through experience rather than formal doctrine. His willingness to engage superior enemy forces, persistently attack instead of retreat, and maintain constant fire and movement significantly contributed to saving American lives. His crew members had their own distinct memories of him. Richards noted that P always prioritized his crew, constantly drilling them while also providing top-notch equipment and supplies. Close remembered being treated like an adult by P despite only being 17 at the time. P never spoke down to him. Ola attributed their survival through 3 months of intense combat directly to P's leadership. Bogs, who missed out on the final battle, has spent decades wondering if his presence could have altered its outcome. Military historians highlight that P holds the highest tank kill record among American soldiers during World War II, despite only fighting for a few months. His achievements include 12 confirmed tank kills and 258 total vehicles destroyed, numbers that remain unparalleled to this day. These feats were accomplished using standard Sherman tanks, which were technologically inferior compared to German armor. What set P apart wasn't extraordinary ability or advanced weaponry, rather. He refused to accept that American crews had to perish simply because German tanks were superior. He devised tactics that leveraged the Sherman's strengths, speed and maneuverability, while mitigating its weaknesses. His crew operated like a well-oiled machine, each member anticipating the other's actions seamlessly. P never wrote about his experiences and rarely discussed them after returning home. When questioned about his success, he attributed it to his team, while shifting conversations away when asked about injuries sustained during combat. As a warrior, P found his purpose in battle but struggled to find meaning afterward. The Sherman tank underwent significant improvements throughout the war, with later models featuring enhanced armor and firepower. By early 1945, the M26 Pershing heavy tank was introduced, equipped with a powerful 90mm gun capable of competing with German tanks. However, in the summer of 1944, American crews had to make do with what they had available at that time. Individuals like P discovered methods to triumph despite the odds. Combat has its own unique set of rules. Statistical analysis indicated that a Sherman tank had little chance against a Panther in direct combat. However, Pool defied these statistics by overcoming a Panther 12 times. Military doctrine advised avoiding close engagements with German heavy tanks. Yet, Pool charged them head-on and survived when others adhering to the manual perished. War favors those who act decisively while penalizing hesitation. This concept was something Pool grasped intuitively. His story illustrates how combat drives innovation, not through committee deliberations or academic studies, but by individuals confronting challenges and devising solutions on the spot. Pool's tactics were never sanctioned by high command or included in training manuals. They originated from necessity disseminated via example, and ultimately saved lives when applied effectively. Today, Pool's name is featured in military histories and tank warfare literature. The 3rd Armored Division keeps detailed records of his accomplishments. Veterans who served alongside him recount tales at reunions, yet these narratives only scratch the surface of who he truly was. Born in Texas as a young man, Lafayette Pool became one of America's most formidable tank destroyers during World War II. He battled for 81 days, neutralizing 258 enemy vehicles, and lost his leg while ensuring his crew's survival through their final engagement. For the remainder of his life, he lived modestly, working with machinery and rarely speaking about his wartime exploits. This is what real heroes are like. Not outsized Hollywood figures, but ordinary individuals who perform extraordinary deeds when duty calls. Pool wasn't motivated by fame or accolades. His primary goal was ensuring the safety of his crew and accomplishing their mission. Anything else took a back seat. If this narrative resonated with you as much as it did with us, we invite you to give this video a thumbs up. It aids in our effort to bring lesser-known stories from World War II to light. By subscribing, you can remain connected with these often overlooked historical accounts. Each story is important and deserves recognition. We would be delighted to hear your thoughts. Please leave a comment below indicating where you are watching this from. Our audience ranges widely from Texas to Taiwan, encompassing both veterans and history aficionados. You are part of an exceptional community here. Thank you for your engagement and for helping preserve these remarkable stories.